Okay, we're ready. This is Jazz 313. I am sitting in the studio of, in my opinion, Michigan's finest, one of the best artists that I think lived in the last century, the great one, a Michigan resident, a creator, the great. Walk with me with Paul Collins. This is Jazz 313, as we always do. We want to bring attention to the Honorable John Conyers, who passed legislation to recognize jazz as an art form. I am my story, my event with Paul Collins, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself and tell us about yourself, if you would, please.
You got all day?
I got all day. We got long as you want to.
No, I did some time ago. When you're young and in the neighborhood that you're in, your neighbor becomes part of who you are. You don't even realize it, but all the things that you pick up on and you decide to be come from the reflections of your neighborhood. And when I was in that age of 14 and 15, we lived in a place called Thompson Court, which is on the west side of town.
Of Grand Rapids.
And everything that I was picking up and learning was negative. But you didn't realize it, and everybody thought about, because I had smoking some cocaine, thinking about being a pimp. Everybody thought I was cool. But that was hep, man, to do all that. And all of a sudden, as the years go by, and that becomes part of some of the things that you are, there comes a life when you decide who you really want to be. There comes a time in life when you have to decide, you don't let outside decide who you are. You yourself have to decide who you are. You have to look in that looking glass, that mirror, and decide who you really want to be, what you really want to do. And it just occurred to me that we don't have enough respect for our community and ourselves. We don't have enough respect for what we're teaching our kids and what our kids see. Our kids shouldn't respect pimps. They shouldn't respect hustlers. They shouldn't respect men who beat up their wives. But some of those things are the things that you grow up thinking you're supposed to do. I was even told when I was young that my mother bought a dry cleaners on Granville on the west side of town. And she wanted me, of course, to drive the truck and pick up clothes after I got done with my football games or basketball games. I did. And there's a street called Commerce where all the prostitutes are.
Okay.
And one of the prostitutes told me, honey, you're so pretty, why don't you be a pimp? And I said, why not? I heard all about that. This woman's going to give me all of her money. I can program her, tell her what to do, when to do it, get all the pussy I want. And so I decided to be a pimp.
Okay.
And what was really interesting, I didn't really know what it was the meaning to be a pimp.
Okay.
But one of the women who was kind of the manager of all the girls saw me one day and she said, Paul Collins, honey, if you're gonna be a good pimp, your woman said you ain't never touched, you gotta slap that bitch sometime. I said, no, I ain't about that. I ain't gonna be beating up that girl just because, I decided that I don't want to be no pimp.
Okay, so what got you into the art? After that phase, the devil, I call it the devil tricking you phase.
That guy up there, Randy Brown.
Okay.
I used to go by his house, and he was an artist, and he was from the South, and he was a hell of a writer, smart man. And all of a sudden, he watched me at home. I was doing a little drawing at home, and he told me, you got some talent. And back then, he was also doing work for the telephone company. Back then, you do what they called specs.
Okay.
And these were, you go by this certain store and this guy wanted to be in the telephone book. He told his story and they put him in the book, the telephone book. And so I started doing that with Randy. And all of a sudden Randy said, man, shit, you better than I am. And so what we started doing then too was lettering, sign painting. And Randy and I got to be really famous because not only did we letter trucks, we painted pictures.
Okay.
And we met so many of these people who would tell us flatly, we'd like for you to do this work, but the colored folks don't know how to do this work. And I remember Mobile Olsenville, I told him, I said, Mr. Mobile, I'll make a deal with you.
Okay.
Let us do the work, and if you don't like it, you don't have to pay for it. You got a deal. So Randy and I lettered, the brand new car was coming out, and so we wanted to put that on his window. Good big letters of when the car would come out. And I did a huge painting of him, his face on there. He grabbed my hand, he grabbed Randy's hand and said, give me your hand, Paul. Randy, I want your hand. I said, what you want my hand for? He said, I want you to go to church with me. I said, for what? He said, I want forgiveness for being so damn stupid.
Okay.
And so not only did he pay me, but the word got around about what Randy and I could do. And that's how I got to meet Rich DeVos from Amway Corporation.
Rich DeVos, Amway, okay. I see you got President of Ford over there. Tell us about that piece.
That was the mural I did at the airport.
Okay.
Of the life of President Ford, which is at the airport right now. And he says one of the greatest things that ever happened to him was that mural because it was 8 feet tall and over 20 feet long, and it talked about his whole life, and he just adored it. In fact, at the unveiling, he cried.
So I see we have, I feel like I'm in Seattle with the totem poles. And could you tell me about, this is a Western Sioux thing. I guess our connection, not just by the great furrier out of Detroit who deceased, Richard Welch, but I met Mr. Collins, I must refer to him. I was a young man with this Shaka Zulu, because I always tell my kids we Zulus. I met him traveling the country and unveiling of this all over the country. I don't know if you remember me, but he met me a couple times on the Richard's place. But could you explain this piece right here? Because this is how I got introduced to you outside of Richard.
This was incredible. We did a series called The Great Kings of Africa.
You can look it up on the internet.
And it was an incredible thing for them to do. Because all of a sudden they realized that they weren't getting much recognition, much business in the black neighborhood.
That's correct.
And so I came up with the idea.
Oh, you came with that idea?
Oh yeah.
And you brought all the other guys, so you weren't trying to Carl Owens. See, that's something I didn't know.
I said, now here's see, one of the things I learned about breaking the bridge of racism is money. And one of the ways you do that is show these people how they're losing money because they're being racist.
You made so much money because this is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I know it. And see, what happened, and I'll tell you this interesting story. Their beer wasn't very popular at all
In the black community.
in the black community. I said, well, why don't you then start advertising it? And not just talking about just saying Budweiser. Why don't you do something that pertains to the black community, pertains to the black history, like some of the great kings. And business in the black community just went crazy.
They brought Lou Ross in, they brought us in. This is 1983.
Yeah.
But guess what, family? This is Jazz 313. We got a jazz theme we listen to Wes Montgomery. We know he's from Indianapolis. But I was talking to Mr. Collins. He was telling me about Idlewood and
Idlewild.
Idlewild. I mean, that was before my time. Would you tell the audience about Idlewild and the Motown sound? You said you want to see Motown. You got up there.
Yeah, that was during the time that they weren't allowed in white places, the white restaurants, and so we said, to hell with you. What we'll do is we'll have our place up at Idlewild. And that's where Motown, everybody in Motown, if you wanted to see it, you came to Idlewild. It was packed.
Where was that at, location-wise? I hear about it and I saw the movie.
It's up north,
Okay.
in Baldwood.
Okay.
And that's probably about an hour, almost 2 hours from here.
Okay. Okay.
And it's surrounded by a beautiful little river.
Okay.
And you could go up there, man, and it was just packed with black folks. All of a sudden, civil rights, all of a sudden, Martin Luther King opened the door and said to the President of the United States, that kind of stuff is illegal. You can't say somebody they can't go come in your place because of their color. And all of a sudden it was against the law. And all of a sudden, listen to me now, white folks said, y'all can come now.
Listen to this. This is key.
And why this is key, but they should have said, I wish I could use the word, but they should have said, no, we're going to stay in Idlewild.